We will now come to order. Let's all stand for the pledge. Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mrs. Allman, please call the roll.
Director Conley,
Here.
Director Emig, Director Hogan,
Here.
Director Kindig,
Here.
Director McKinney,
Present.
Director Meese, here, Director Miller, here, Director Whitmer, here, Director Wolverton.
Here.
8 present, 1 absent.
Thank you, Mrs. Allman. I'd like to welcome everybody to the Board of Directors meeting. This is a planning meeting, and so we will not be taking votes tonight. We will be having public comments during the course of the meeting. We will be discussing the items and asking questions, but as I said, no votes will be taken tonight. I'd like to recognize Mrs. Weaver, our CFOO, for our first presentation, Agenda Item 2.01, the 2024-2025 budget.
Fortunately, this is going to be the quickest one we've had yet because pretty much everything has been decided on. So this is a recap from the April meeting. The board chose Directive 1 with the addition of live streaming that was part of the supplies cut, and the removal of some of the everyday math home links, and the elimination of the part-time administration receptionist. The changes from the original directive are highlighted in yellow. I updated the 5-year projections with the board's budget selection. Even with the addition of the warehouse, solar farm, Wawa, Buckmeyer Pools, and move-in storage, Dover is still facing a significant uphill battle to the tune of $18 million plus in the next 5 years. Fortunately, the district is starting to see signs of movement in the governor's budget with an additional $154 million in state-funded local tax relief. From that increase, Dover will receive an additional $324,000 in property tax relief. Homestead, farmstead taxpayers will also see a decrease in their real estate bill thanks to additional funding. During budget decisions, it was asked by one of the board members what happens when the district receives additional funding from the state after the budget has been approved, which is demonstrated in this slide. It is added to the fund balance, or in our case, assists with reducing the deficit and the amount of fund balance needed to balance the budget. As with the funding of the property tax reduction, there could be additional funding for the basic ed subsidy and a reduction in the cost of cyber charter tuition. These 2 items could greatly assist in reducing the deficit going forward, so please reach out to your local legislators in support of reform. Are there any questions?
Yeah. I sent you an email on the access funding.
Yes.
You responded today. I went back and looked at the January presentation. I cannot find $250,000 listed in that presentation. In doing my review, if I go back to June, when the final audited financials were finished, our revenue was listed at $71,149,000. In January, you presented our revenue at $72,175,942. So I'm having difficulty following the sequences and seeing where this revenue is coming from.
The 250 was originally in the budget, so it was in one of the larger line items, other financing sources. So when there was a change, I just added the change to it, as opposed to it's in there. It's rolled up into one of the larger categories.
Was that 250,000 in the final financial statement of in June of 23?
I would have to take a look and see what you're talking about, because without looking at it and doing some research, I don't want to speak out of turn.
Okay. Before next week, could we get a breakdown? I would like to start at what we finished in June of '23 when the books were audited, that's our revenue,
Uh-huh.
and see how we got from that figure to where we are today. Because I'm just having trouble.
But they were odd. Those were actual numbers. These are budget numbers. There's a difference.
I understand that, but we finish a year with this number. Now we're building a budget. So where are we getting the numbers to build that budget revenue?
The budget, all the explanations I gave were budget over budget, not budget over actual. So all of them were explanations for why the budget increased from 23-24. So the actual 22-23 is different than the budget 22-23. If you went back and looked at some of my presentations when I did budget to actuals for 22-23, including in November, you'll see where the discrepancies are from the budget for 22-23 to the actuals from 22-23.
I will look at that. You're probably going to be getting an email. Okay. I'll look at it, see if I can get the numbers, but so far I haven't been able to get the numbers to balance out.
Okay?
Any other questions? None? Okay. All right, thank you, Mrs. Weaver. All right, this takes us to our first public comment period. Public comment period is used as an opportunity for the board to listen but not to debate issues or enter into a question and answer session with the speaker. Public comment must be germane to the school district business. The board values civil and respectful statements and clear, concise communications that help inform its deliberations. So there's going to be a 30-minute session. We'll have a second period towards the end of the meeting where we'll have a second 30-minute session. For the first session, each speaker will be provided with 3 minutes, and there'll be a clock timer that'll be on the screen directly in front of you. I have to look over to the side to be able to see that, so hopefully I'll be able to give you about a 10-second reminder as you get towards the end of your time. Please state, or all speakers, please state your name and your address. If you signed in, you may omit the statement of your address.
Katie Reinhardt, I signed in. I just wanted to thank Director Hogan. Director Emming isn't here tonight, but just for their comments against the proposed budget and using the funds balance to cover the deficit. I super appreciated that as a parent because I really believe that that should be what you all do. So for my comment this evening, so transparency is the quality to be easily seen through. In no definition of transparency are secret warehouse meetings discussed that push a particular political agenda. In no definition of transparency is it appropriate for public school board members to align with a political PAC who has primary contributions from cyber charter schools. In no definition of transparency is it appropriate for school board members to push their own religious or political agendas on our students. I work in the mental health field, and the proposed policies on the agenda tonight are mentally damaging at best and life-threatening at worst. Transgender individuals are 6 times more likely to have a mood or anxiety disorder. They are 3 times more likely to be on antidepressants and anti-anxiety medications, and they are 6 times as likely to attempt suicide compared to the general public, as cited by Yale School of Public Health. I have worked with such individuals. I have had young children, I have had teenagers come into my office and describe their suicide attempts for evaluations that I complete on them. I have had them discuss cutting and self-harm. I have had them discuss genital mutilation that they have completed, all because of their minds and genitalia at birth not aligning, and they don't have the supportive individuals in their life to help them. Transgender young people with high social supports from their family and or community attempt suicide at less than half the rate of those who do not have these supports. Not to mention, the policies for review today are also illegal and infringe upon individual rights for our students. Your jobs are to fight for the rights of all of our students and not just those that align with certain political beliefs or religious views. Individual rights and freedoms are important for all, including any transgender student who may experience scrutiny at home. School may be their only safe space, and to take that away is absurd and also negligent. I hope you will all examine your conscience this evening and really consider if you're fighting for our students or playing political puppets to cookie cutter policies and agendas that everyone will eventually have to pay for in litigation against our district. As an outsider looking in between all of the difficulties with the budget and all of these policies tonight, it really appears that some of you are bent on dismantling public education in Dover. While that may be the intention of a political PAC that you attend secret warehouse meetings for, it is not what I and many other concerned parents, teachers, and district employees want. Keep political agendas and discriminatory policies out of our schools. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Reinhardt.
Katrina Rothrock, and I signed in. I would like to address some recent developments that have raised concerns within our community regarding transparency and accountability in our board's operations. Recently, it has come to light that the board members possibly attended meetings with other boards to discuss significant issues. While this may be within legal bounds, the lack of public announcement and transparency surrounding these meetings is troubling. Collaboration with other districts can actually be beneficial, but a lack of openness gives the impression that something inappropriate is happening, which benefits no one. The decisions and discussions that affect our school community must be conducted openly and with full disclosure. Transparency is not just a legal obligation, it is a fundamental principle that ensures the trust and confidence of the community. As elected representatives, it is your duty to uphold these principles with the utmost sincerity and diligence. When boards seem to lack transparency, rumors run rampant, which is harmful to everyone. Therefore, I urge the board to make immediate steps to address these concerns. This includes providing clarity on the nature and purpose of engagements with external entities, such as other districts or significant groups, as well as ensuring that all future meetings, especially those involving matters of public interest, are conducted with full transparency and public notification. Dover deserves nothing less than the highest standards of accountability and transparency from its elected representatives. We want to work with you to create the best possible schools for our students and our community. Open, clear communication and trust are essential. I trust that the board will take these concerns seriously and take appropriate actions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Rothrock.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jean Smith. I'm here on behalf of and representing our receptionist, Amanda Fahili. I come here with 22 years of service in the business office. I am accounts receivable. I've done accounts payable. I've done reception work. I've worked with the tax collectors, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I've done a lot, and I've seen a lot. When you try to combine positions, you eliminate a position, you're going to need somebody to cover that position. And from experience, I fondly refer to our receptionist as our director of first impressions. And the reception office can get extremely busy. And you have to service people when they come in, they need answers, they need help, they need guidance. The phones ring, it's a busy place. If you combine that position with any other position in the building, you are setting yourself up for failure. There's going to be problems. I've seen it happen repeatedly. Eliminating positions of important work, she doesn't just answer the phone. She doesn't just open the door. She assists people. She's in charge of the mailings. She does the volunteers. This position has a long list of responsibilities. And if you're going to try to combine that with an important other position,
they're both going to suffer. And you're setting yourselves up for problems. And I've seen it happen repeatedly over the 22 years. And then you always seem to go after what most people want to say is an unimportant position. But I can tell you from experience, this position is extremely important and should not be combined with any other position. And she handles overflow from the offices when we are busy and trying to meet deadlines. And this building is very conscientious about meeting requirements, state requirements, deadlines. And I can attest you're going to have problems by eliminating the receptionist position.
Thank you, Mrs. Smith.
Hi, I'm Crystal Thomas. I'm not 100% sure that you all can help, but I thought it was worth a shot. At 3 o'clock this afternoon, I was told that the buses will not be coming through the construction and that this apparently starts tomorrow morning. And we don't know where our kids will get off in the afternoon. We had no idea until email came through that we're responsible to get kids back and forth to school now. This is kind of shocking, and I'm actually the babysitter of several of the kids, but the parents couldn't make it, and they are my kids too. We're just in limbo. We have no idea what to do, and to not have any notice that, not even 24 hours notice that, hey, sorry if you work. And then with the detours, I don't see how I can get to the middle school and the elementary school in time. We don't know what to do. I spoke with Dolly Construction. They suggested, and I would definitely agree with, to have one stop at Dollar General because the construction is allowing them to stay open the entire time. If anybody has any suggestions, I'm open.
Dr. Cartwright, is there someone that she can contact that provide her some?
She already has contacted Kim Kohler in the transportation office, and it's not our construction, it's the township and this Doley Construction. And Kim just found out this morning that we needed to make this announcement.
Yep.
And we did that out of courtesy because it's not our construction. She also sent out a message last week knowing that this was coming.
Okay, thank you very much.
I didn't know it. I have a senior, but that is still considered her bus stop. I didn't know it, and none of my parents got any notification about it. And yes, you can see that I've tried to contact Kim Kohler, but tomorrow morning's still going to happen, even though I didn't hear back from anyone, her or her office. That none of my parents did either. Tomorrow morning still comes. I just fail to believe the school is just finding out about this.
Kim Kohler told me this afternoon that she found out from, I think, the township this morning. That's all I know.
I did find out that before I came here, that one of the girls was, her bus driver told her yesterday. So even if you say that we were notified a week ago, what can be done to, obviously that's a big stretch of road. There's going to be parents that work.
Okay, your time has expired. I think that Dr. Cartwright is going to say one more thing possibly. I saw her pull the mic.
No,
Okay,
I'm done.
so that's,
You seem angry about it. Is this an inconvenience?
This is not a time for a conversation.
When is? It's a legitimate question. When is?
Mrs. Kohler will call you back if she hasn't already.
Okay. Thank you, Mrs. Thomas.
Kara Hetrick, I signed in. Thank you, Dr. Cartwright, for all you have done for this district. You are an excellent administrator and an excellent human. You will be missed. Congratulations to our school board for making the front page of the newspaper. Normally, this would be something to be proud of, but not this time. Apparently, some of you have been having secret meetings in warehouses. Is this what Randall Wenger meant when he said to be as clever as a serpent? If you have nothing to hide, then you should be reporting about these meetings just like all the other committees. I look forward to the report from your secret warehouse committee chair. Your ILC policies on the agenda tonight are discriminatory. There is no such thing as a parental rights law. What does exist is Title IX, where gender identity is clearly defined as a protected class. There's also the PA Human Relations Act, the Office of Civil Rights, and lots of other state and federal regulatory agencies that prohibit discrimination. If you approve these ILC policies, do you understand that you could be held individually liable? The district's insurance coverage does not cover you if you knowingly break the law. You can each individually be sued. Has Randall Wenger explained this to you? Dover already went through a costly intelligent design lawsuit in 2005. Back then, the Dover School Board let their religious beliefs influence their decisions. We should know better than to do this again. And in case those aren't enough reasons, then maybe you should check out Dover's Board Policy 000, titled Local Board Procedures, which states that when determining policy, quote, the board cannot intend to violate federal or state constitutions or any other law. Not sure how you can make new policies that directly contradict existing policies. These IOC policies put the district in financial jeopardy as well as personal jeopardy for yourselves. Is this really the hill you want to die on? Wouldn't you rather allow yourselves and the district the flexibility to work with each student and family on a case-by-case basis? And that leads me to the most important point of all, our students. Do you actually know any trans children? Because I don't think you do. If you did, you would picture their faces when making decisions like these. You'd know what a difficult life they already have and how policies like these only serve to make their lives harder. You'd know that they already feel different and are often bullied. You'd realize that making a policy for a handful of children is not only illegal, but morally wrong. Don't say you care about all children when you clearly don't.
Thank you, Mr. Chadwick.
Maria Wartz, and I did sign in. I went to school, middle and high school, in the 1970s. I watched two people that I cared for very much as I went to their funerals because they were not understood. One was a young lady, one was a young man. Both of them, if they lived in today's society, may still be alive. But the policies that you're looking at adapting would take not just their lives, but the lives of many other students. I believe that transgender people are people. The students are students. I also believe that it is not a single person's right to tell them how they feel other than their parents. So if you want to do something, bring the parents in with the student. I have no problem with that. But in doing it, also bring a counselor in to help the whole family. Please do not have any Dover student commit suicide because you all have your own personal religious beliefs. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Wartz. Anyone else? All right, the public comment period is closed. This is opens the next agenda item, which is the board president's communications. Agenda item 4.01, the announcement of executive sessions. We had an executive session on 1/25/24 to discuss legal issues. Executive session on 4/9, discuss board training, or for board training. Another session on 4/30 for board training. We had an executive session on 5/7 to discuss legal issues. Tonight, before this session, we had a executive session to discuss legal issues, and we have a planned session on 5/21 to discuss legal and labor issues. And before we go on to the next agenda item, I'd like to address, as the board president, some of the comments and insinuations and even direct allegations published recently in the media and on social media, as well as in some of the comments here tonight. Individually, each board member has a responsibility to fully engage as an elected school director under the laws of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. In doing so, school directors are obliged and committed to the following: prepare for, attend, and actively participate in board meetings, participate in professional development, training, and board retreats, promote public education as a keystone of our Commonwealth, engage the community by seeking input, building support networks, and generating action, and champion public education by engaging local, state, and federal officials. This is not a list of items that I produce as a defense. It is, in fact, a list that I pulled directly from the Dover Area School District Board Policy 011, Principles for Governance and Leadership. Recently, many of you read and bought into the prejudiced mischaracterization of the activities of members of this board and reacted with malice against certain members and echoing unfounded presumptions without a fair accounting of the facts. In an effort to dispel the rumors and falsehoods, I will address the accusations directly. Members of this board regularly communicate and meet with other current and former school directors in other districts within York County in an effort to learn and improve our competency. We also engage in a variety of individual and group activities that are legally permissible and supported by board policy. Many would have you to believe that the Sunshine Law and the Right to Know Law requires members of this board to reveal to you every action and communication in which we engage, whether personal or political. This simply is not true. Even as a publicly elected official, I retain and assert my individual rights as a citizen of this Commonwealth, namely freedom of speech, right to assemble, and right of privacy. These rights permit me to continue to engage in a variety of personal activities, including political and religious activities and a wide range of associations and affiliations. We made this no secret during our campaigns, and we made it no secret in our recent responses to requests made under the Right to Know law. In fact, some members reported far beyond the requirements of the law itself. Although we had the right to exclude them, members submitted personal communications from personal emails and text messages. Although requested, the communications were not agency records. They were not required to be submitted, and they were not required to be in the response. With this understanding, they serve only as a window of transparency. Political action committees, also known as PACs, are diverse and plentiful in modern American politics. Each issue likely has at least one PAC supporting the issue and another PAC opposing it. Nearly all politicians either have one themselves or engage with at least one on a regular basis. PACs are legal and must be registered with the government. Politicians have PACs, groups have PACs, associations have PACs, political parties have PACs, unions have PACs, even teachers' unions have PACs. Specifically, there's been concern about members of this board attending meetings organized by a local PAC. It is permissible for members of a school board to attend meetings organized by local political action committees. In this case, we were invited to a roundtable discussion among other school directors in York County. Our objective was not to hear from PAC leadership, but to participate in the discussion. It's good for school board members, like any elected officials, to engage frequently with various community groups and stakeholders to stay informed about issues affecting school districts and to gather input from different perspectives. It is our responsibility as school board members to ensure that our primary allegiance remains to the best interest of the students, educators, and the broader community we serve. We critically evaluate any information or viewpoints presented at these meetings and make decisions based on what aligns with the educational mission and goals of the Dover Area School District. It is our job to determine in our involvement with any other external groups what serves the public interest and what enhances the overall governance of our school system. And finally, let me say here that, to my knowledge, not one member of this board has signed or will ever sign a pledge of loyalty to any PAC or to any other political group. As most of you can imagine, the learning curve for an incoming school director is high. Nonetheless, the organization itself moves forward. It requires engagement within and without to overcome the knowledge deficits. I'm committed to overcoming these deficits, and I think I can speak for my colleagues as well in assuring you that they are likewise committed to doing the same. We will continue to engage with the board, the administration, and any other association, group, or person considered appropriate or necessary. This is an accepted practice among elected officials at every level, as well as among leaders in every agency, bureau, or division. Concurrently, we will access available resources regularly as we deem necessary to increase our competence, improve our processes, expand our networks, and enhance our effectiveness. We remain aware of Pennsylvania law and will be careful to comply as we have. I believe that an engaged school director is a learner. In the same manner that we ask of our educators and students in our school system. An engaged school director who embraces learning sets a powerful example for educators and students alike. Education is a lifelong journey, and the role of a school director is no exception. By continuously seeking out new knowledge, skills, and perspective, a school director can stay attuned to the evolving needs of the school community and make informed decisions that benefit everyone involved. Moreover, when school directors demonstrate a commitment to learning, it fosters a culture of curiosity and growth within the school system. It sends a message that learning is valued at all levels and that everyone has something valuable to contribute. This can inspire educators to continually improve their teaching practices and encourage students to take ownership of their own learning journeys. Ultimately, an engaged school director who prioritizes learning helps create a dynamic and supportive educational environment where everyone feels empowered to reach their full potential. Our next item on the agenda is Section 5, the discussion of action items for May 21st, 2024. That will be our business meeting. Agenda item 5.01 is the appointment of a treasurer for a one-year term from July 1st, 2024 to June the 30th, 2025. Is there any discussion? Well, I have one thing to say there. I will be supporting and looking for a nomination of Director McKinney to continue as treasurer. He has been our elected treasurer since we filled the vacant position, and I think he's doing a good job. I'd like to see him continue in that role.
Thank you.
Any other discussion?
I agree.
Okay, thank you, Director Miller. All right, agenda item 5.02 is appointment of Amy Allman as the Assistant Board Secretary for the 2024-2025 school year. Any discussion?
She's doing a great job. I have no issue with her continuing.
I think Mrs. Alm is one of the most professional employees and very, very courteous and pleasant to deal with. And I would also be in favor of her continuing that role.
I agree.
Any other discussion? All right, the next is agenda item 5.03, the Dover Area High School Class of 2024 graduates. There is a rather lengthy list. I think we have 205 total graduates listed here. It is 205. Is there any discussion on the list of graduates that would be asked to approve? Hearing none, we'll move to the next. Agenda item 5.04, foreign exchange student for 2024-2025. There's an attachment that lists the candidate that's being sponsored by the Rotary Club of York Youth Exchange Program. And there's a well, it's a form with some biographical information there and a picture. Any discussion?
Do we get them often or annually, Dr. Cartwright?
This is the second one we've had since I've been here.
Okay.
Any other discussion? I'm looking forward to that person arriving if it works out. Agenda item 5.05, field trip request Skills USA State Officer Training for in James Creek, Pennsylvania, June the 2nd through the 4th. Any questions, comments, concerns about the field trip request? Hearing none, we'll move to the next one. Agenda item 5.06, field trip request for high school FFA students to the FAA State Convention at Penn State University, June 11 through 13. There's an attachment there as well with the field trip request form. Are there any questions? I'll just mention as an aside, I attended the FFA, what was it, a ceremony? What was it called?
Awards.
The award ceremony. That is one professional bunch. I think they would do a lot better running the meeting than we do. I'm looking forward to their skills. All right, hearing none, we'll move on to the next. 5.07, field trip request, Skills USA National Leadership and Skills Conference, Atlanta, Georgia, June 21 through 29. There's an attachment with the field trip request form. Any questions, comments, concerns?
I have several questions. One is, it says the conference is 24th through the 29th, but the trip is 21st through the 29th. I was just wondering why the difference.
Mr. Benton?
Sorry, the 21st through the 29th is because we have a state officer. So the initial 2 days before is for our state officers training that will be done at the with the national people too. So our advisor and all students have to go down all together. If we can book our flights, they'll be going with the other schools on the same flight with that. And then just to keep up with our policy of 2 adults traveling together with students. Okay, so apologize on that. So it is the 21st that we have to go down, that we'll be leaving.
So that gives most of the students, except for the 2 that are in training, basically a free weekend. And
no, there'll be other things there for them to do with Skills USA.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Do you have any additional questions?
We did receive, I'd just like to point out, we did receive 2 corporate sponsorships. Crabtree Warball helped by donating $2,400, and General Machine Works also donated $2,400, so our students can get there.
Okay. So let me ask you about the chaperones there. So if we break the group up and send them with a chaperone, you'll still have to have a chaperone with the 2 students, right? So if you sent them with a chaperone, would you not have enough with your current chaperone cadre to oversee the group as they come down later?
No, it would drive up the price, cost of the trip, because you would then need 4 adults.
I see. Yeah.
You know, if we can, honestly, if we could get a consensus, I can drop $2,000 off of that price before the 16th to register. If not, I will be going down with the advisor if it's after the 16th. For our two adults, if we can register before the 16th, we can still get on the plane with the other 2 local schools, career and tech centers, that all the advisors will be going together to help chaperone all the kids going down.
Okay, so what you're looking for the board is maybe a decision tonight with a straw poll.
That would definitely help.
Okay. So, and the savings would be a firm $2,000 off of the
Because
entire
it's
cost
my
of the trip?
cost.
Okay.
I won't have to travel.
Right. Okay, let me open it up to the board to discuss that request, and then we'll go to a straw poll if the board's agreeable to do that. We'll still have to take action next week on the field trip request, formally with a motion. So are there any concerns that would, or reservations that you have about giving him an indication tonight as to whether we would support this trip? None?
I have no concerns.
Okay. Any from you? Okay. You've got
Thank
a
you.
straw poll, thumbs up, and we'll vote on it on the 21st.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
All right, you bet. Thank you. All right, agenda item 5.08, field trip request, Skills USA State Officer Training, Chambersburg, Pennsylvania, August 11 through 13. Any questions, comments, concerns? Hearing none, we'll move to the next agenda item 5.09, letter of agreement with True North Wellness for SAP Liaison Services 2024 through 2025. There's an attachment there with the draft agreement. Actually, a signed agreement from True Wellness North. It's just waiting on our signature. Are there any questions, comments, concerns?
I have a question on that. Line item 1 says substance abuse, mental health screening, assessment services. What exactly is assessment? Is that done, certain grades are assessed? Is that done one-on-one? How do they do these assessments?
Dr. Cartwright, do you have someone that, okay. Dr. Houck is coming.
Each one of our schools has weekly meetings where they discuss any concerns that they have for students, whether they be academic or whatever. If a student has been identified by the team that there is a concern, that SAP counselor will contact the parent and ask the parent for permission to do an assessment. So the SAP counselors do not meet with students without parent consent. So I don't know what that assessment would be for an individual kid who's been identified as a concern. And that's with drug and alcohol and mental health.
So we are not doing grade 3. We assess all the kids in grade 3.
That is not what is meant by the word assessment there.
Basically, a teacher sees a student that maybe is having difficulty or something, and they discuss it, and then they contact these people, and these people contact the parent before they meet with it.
Correct. And oftentimes that counselor is actually in the meeting and hearing the concerns. But yes, we do have to get parent consent for the SAP counselor to meet with the student.
Before you go, I've got a question. Let me look at the number here. So item number 7 that's listed on that list, it says supportive mental health counseling for students unable to access treatment otherwise. So if we have someone in a substance abuse counseling program or mental health program, what triggers that mental health counseling, and why would they be in a position to not qualify for it otherwise or receive it otherwise?
Well, I'm not a mental health professional, but in my experience, there are two major reasons. One is a lack of insurance and not able to find a mental health provider that will accept them without insurance. And the other one is there's a shortage of mental health providers right now. Wait lists, they're very difficult to come by. So those are two reasons that I know off the top of my head.
So this becomes like an augmentation for people's personal health insurance for this?
Not necessarily, no. It's because it's just the ability for the child to have someone to talk to. I don't think that our SAP counselors do any type of long-term counseling. In fact, usually 3 to 5 sessions is about all they get, and then they work with the parent to try to get them hooked up with another provider.
So with this policy here, will it augment when our own folks, run out of the 3 to 5 sessions, they would do follow-on training under this agreement here with True North?
No, True North will, again, work with the family to try to get that, those services.
Okay, all right. Any other questions? No other questions for Dr. Houck? Thank you, Dr. Houck.
You're welcome.
Any other discussion on this agenda item? All right, we'll go to the next agenda item, 5.10. This is Memorandum of Understanding with the Lincoln Intermediate Unit, otherwise known as the LIU 12, for the Title III Program Consortium for English Learners and Immigrants. There's an attachment. Any questions, comments? Any discussion?
I have some questions. Is this for you again? Well, my first question is just to make sure this is a whole new, separate consortium. So they're saying the consortium shall be named. So this is brand new?
No, it's a continuation. As long as I have been here, we have joined this consortium. This is Title III, the federal grant that we get. We don't get very much money. It's maybe $10,000, $15,000. So rather than us spending that money ourselves, we give it to the IU, and by doing that, we get more for that money than we would have if we spent it ourselves. They will provide us with free professional development. They provide us with free resources for our ESL teachers. So it's really, we get more bang for our buck by joining that consortium rather than trying to spend that minimal amount of money ourselves.
Thank you. And the other question I had was in regards to the tools and curriculum and things that they're going to use. Do we look at that ahead of time? Do we get to have an idea what that looks like for these kids? Do we approve that, or is pretty much LIU picks it out, approves it? And then...
They don't give us curriculum, but they do give us some resources like maybe Duolingo, which is an online English learning game kind of thing. So they will give us resources, but they don't give us any textbooks or curriculum that the board would need to approve. Something like Babbel. Babbel's not one of them, but it's something like Babbel where actually you could log on to Duolingo and learn a different language. So they get online resources and things like that, but no textbooks or curriculum.
So it's pretty much all online. And then the teachers who are utilizing it with the students here?
Yes.
Or, okay, so they would just get like a log-on access code.
Correct.
And use it when they have the children they're working with?
Exactly.
Okay. That's all I had. Thank you.
What evaluation is there of the consortium itself? Because there's a clause in here that says that if the consortium fails to meet federal requirements. So how would you know if the consortium failed to meet federal requirements?
They get audited just like I do. They get monitored by PDE. I'm not sure every 3 years or so, every 4 or 5 years, but they will get monitored for compliance just like every other district would.
So PDE and not the Department of Education, PDE does that on behalf of the Department of
PDE is the Pennsylvania Department of Education.
Yeah, but I'm
Yes.
talking about the Federal Department of Education. So this is a federal program, right?
It is, but it's monitored through the Pennsylvania Department of Education.
Okay, okay, understand. Any other questions? All right, you might stay there because the
Oh,
next
okay.
agenda items deal with textbooks and that
Okay.
type of thing. So this is your specialty. So agenda item 5.11, the Xanadu Publishing quote for textbook purchase. Open up to the board first for questions, and you'll be there to answer those questions. Any questions, concerns related to this?
Dr. Houck brought the two textbooks, so I'm going to be looking at them, and then if anybody else would like to look at them, I can share with them. So thank you.
I went through them last week. I'm okay with them. Can't say I'm excited about them, but I'm okay with them.
All right, so while you're there, let's go to the next one is the agenda item 5.12, the Perfection Learning quote for textbook purchase, the AP US Government and Politics, and some other letters at the end of that. But
Yeah,
that's the other one that's here. Any
Yeah.
questions, comments, concerns? So when Director Mellon, Director Kendig, when you spoke about this, you were talking about both books in one. They're two
Yes,
separate agenda
I went
items,
through
right?
both of those books.
Right, okay. I appreciate you or whoever took the time to earmark all those with all the bookmarks.
I had asked the teacher to do that, so she's the one who did that. So that's credit goes to her for that.
Well, please pass along our appreciation. That
Will
helps a
do.
lot. No questions for Dr. Houck? Hold on just a second. Let me make sure. Would you be speaking also about River Rock Academy?
No.
No, okay. All right, so thank you, Dr. Houck. All right, the next agenda item is 5.13, the 2024-2025 contract for reservation of seats at the River Rock Academy. There's an attachment there that lists 8 slots, 8 secondary slots and 4 elementary slots. Dr. Cartwright?
Everything you need to know is written under public content. This is a continuation. We use them every year, and we need them desperately. I'll take questions if you have them.
Any questions from the board? Hearing none, we'll move on to the next agenda item. Agenda item 5.14, the 2024-2025 agreement with River Rock Academy for alternative education services. River Rock Academy offers alternative education for disruptive youth and for non-AEDY services to eligible students in grades 6 through 12. There's an attachment here with the draft agreement. Any questions, comments, concerns?
So we have 12 seats. Do you know how many we've used?
We use more than 12 every year.
Any other questions? All right, hearing none, we will move on to the next agenda item. Agenda item 5.15, contract with WellSpan Sports Medicine for July 1st, 2024 through June 30, 2025 for athletic training services. There is an attachment with the contract language. Any questions, comments, concerns?
I had a discussion with Dr. Wiesling at a baseball game. So one of the WellSpan trainers was there. She did a great job. She was needed a few times. It's basically coverage when Dave App and other trainers are split among other sporting events, and we have a uncovered event. They'll offer somebody up. Am I correct, Dr. Wiesling? Correct. All right. So it's a good service that keeps our athletes safe.
Dr. Wiesland, if you come up, I've got a couple questions. I'm assuming we've been with WellSpan for a long time. How long have we been with them?
We are completing our first year right
Just
now.
the first year? Who
Yes.
did we use before?
We had another sports medicine provider in the area, OSS.
OSS,
Yes.
okay. Were we, what was the reason for the changeover?
They were looking, we've had PRN, which means as needed services. We entered into a PRN service agreement with OSS a few years ago. Some of the challenges were that the sports medicine providers, they couldn't get enough certified athletic trainers on staff for the PRN services. Like any other place, when they're hiring their employees, they're looking to find full-time employment with them, and then that can justify providing them with a full-time salary and benefits. So we were having difficulty being provided even those as needed service hours for the times that we requested. I think when we look at estimating the dates that we had requested those as needed services, only about 25 to 30% of those dates were covered with another athletic trainer. So we were looking at different options, and so we landed upon WellSpan Sports Medicine and entered into a PRN agreement for this past school year.
Okay.
And we're looking to enhance and add services. So this is a budgeted item already. The amount of the comprehensive contract, about half of that has already been utilized throughout the course of the last several year budgets, just for the PRN services of the athletic trainer, the physician on-site services for our varsity football games, which is a PIAA requirement, and also sports physicals.
When we went from OSS to WellSpan, did our costs go up or down?
For the PRN services, I believe they went down a few dollars because that's per hour. But this cost of the comprehensive sports medicine package is substantially lower than what OSS was going to enter into with us a few years ago, which was cost prohibitive at that time. And then COVID hit. So we weren't even quite sure if we were going to have athletic events for that upcoming year. So we decided not to enter into that agreement. Understandably. And then when we did return the following year, we limped through that first year with COVID without the services. And it was okay. We were fine because we had limited participation, limited activities for a while. And then when we were up and running fully, then we entered in with the PRN service agreement because we just couldn't afford what the OSS agreement was going to be at that time.
One more question. So I think I already know the answer to this because I think OSS subcontracts with them, but did we request a quote from UPMC?
We did not. I don't recall. We didn't.
No, we didn't.
No.
Okay. How long is this contract for? Just 1 year?
1 year.
1 year. Okay.
And I know when Mrs. Weaver was meeting with us and the representative from WellSpan to discuss this, I know you, from your experiences in another school district, substantially lower.
That is correct. It is substantially lower.
As far as the cost, very reasonable to be receiving the number of services that they're offering for that price.
I thought the answer, when I said I think I know the answer to the question, I thought it was going to be different, that because they subcontracted them, that the costs were going to be higher because we're going to have to go right back to OSS anyway. But so I guess moving forward, at least for next year, probably not a bad idea. At least get a quote from UPMC.
We absolutely could see if they offer the same kinds of services.
Yeah, right. Okay. Any other questions from the board?
I do see on the cost of services page, there's year 1, year 2, up through 5. Is that just a cost price schedule of what it would be?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Any other questions? Thank you, Dr. Weiss.
Thank you.
Next agenda items 5.16, conference request for Kelly Renard to attend the 2024 SNAP. Is this ongoing training or recertification training?
Ongoing training, and she's a speaker in several sessions. She's often invited to speak.
Has the association been asked to pick up part of her costs, or is that the reason for the strikeouts?
They have offered because she's speaking to pay for part of it.
So that's why there's handwritten numbers beside it?
Correct, yes.
Excellent. So that's that reduced the cost significantly then. Any other questions? Hearing none, we'll move on to the next item, agenda item 5.17, the Apple Incorporated Education Price Quote for iPads. This is a replacement for our existing iPad fleet. Now, we voted on an iPad replacement for the faculty, I think in last month's business meeting.
I believe that was MacBooks,
MacBook.
laptops, yeah,
Right.
but similar.
So this, the existing iPad fleet will be out of warranty, and accidental damage and repairs will not be covered. There's a whole, I'm reading from the actual agenda item that's made available to the public. There are two attachments, the quote itself and some additional information. Any comments, questions, concerns? Total amount on this quote is $1.7 million. Actually, almost $1.8 million. Any other discussion?
Guaranteed buyback option, 240,000. That's total that we would get back on trade-ins, correct?
Mr. Boyd, our Director of Technology, is going to come up and answer the question.
So that is what they are guaranteeing that we would get back. However, we could get substantially more than that. So the iPads that are coming off of lease currently, we have got quotes, I'm going to say over $150 a piece for them. I don't want to say exact because it goes upon grading. So if we have a really good quality device, you get top dollar for it. Just like trading in a car, right? If you have a pristine car, you get higher value. But I would say a safe number is probably about $150 a piece for trading in our current fleet. That's basically 3-year-old devices at this point. And I think they were about a year old, already into that generation when we bought them. So it could vary. I think figured right now, a very safe figure that we would get back for what we're selling right now is about $437,000. Probably more than that, but I don't want to, commit to a number that may not be, 100% accurate. So basically that would pay off the current year of the lease that we have, get rid of that. We'd start the new lease and then basically just do this again in, 3 years. That way we're still cashing in all that equity while not having to pay for accidental damage or any type of, anything out of warranty. The biggest issue is cases that we're running into right now. The cases are starting to fail. We have replaced about over 300 cases since December. They're still under warranty now. However, once August comes, they're going to be out of warranty and they're $100 per case because they do have a keyboard. So we're running a lot of issues with that. Just some figures here. We send back about 200 devices a year, maybe a little bit more than that, maybe a little bit less, depending upon the year. And about the average cost to replace it is the cheapest cost is about $125 to replace the glass. Majority of what we get, but sometimes when students break the glass, it goes into the screen or the digitizer, which takes care of the touch. So that then would be over and above that $125. So you might be upwards of $200 to replace, a screen on the device, which is more than what we're getting for, for essentially a 3-year-old device right now. So it's one of those, trying to basically keep it budget neutral, and the money that we have budgeted right now is what we would, basically be paying if we were to renew the contract. That way we're not spending any additional money as, things come up next year or the year after with those cases, because we're still on the hook for the last year of the lease. So if we don't sell the devices back, we still have to pay the last year of the lease plus any damages that are done and any breakages or any just normal wear and tear stuff that comes out, plus the cases. Like you said, they have a 3-year warranty on them. And one of the other issues we have is the iPads right now only have 32 gigs of memory. So with iOS upgrading, that's taking almost half, if not a little over half of that memory. So when we're trying to push out updates for the state mandated tests, it's very difficult because students have, pictures or other apps on their device that they're using for, educational purposes, and we cannot upgrade them as efficiently as we'd like to. And sometimes they have to delete stuff that, is sensitive to their education just to be able to push out these updates to complete the state mandated tests. And furthermore, grade 3 next year will be required to take online testing as part of, the new state mandates. So it's a imperative that we do have, devices that we can keep updated for that testing. So it's a large chunk of money. However, we do, we try to make the most of it with the buyback and getting, those buyback dollars. But going back to, that 200 and some $1,000, that's the minimum that Apple is going to guarantee us.
Yeah.
Basically, if the market goes down, they're going to give us that regardless. Whereas, normally the market on any Apple products is significantly higher than what they're going to quote. But they're just basically trying to figure out what that market may be, potentially the lowest. So obviously they're not going to lose any money, but we can then sell it to any, vendor that's going to pay us, significantly higher dollar value.
So the list price on the iPad's $414. We're getting it for a price of $329.
Yes.
So when we turn in the old computers, we get, you said about $100 or so back.
I'd say 150 is probably a safe bet.
So that shaves off of that $329
Yes.
right there. So then we have $41 they're going to charge us for the warranty.
Yes,
So
for the
that's
Apple Care, yep, which
50
covers
bucks.
accidental damages for that
I'm not
term.
doing all the math here, but it actually doesn't sound like that much per iPad that we're actually spending.
No, I mean, you're at 320, plus then the warranty and case. I think it's about $400 till you're all said and done, till you add the warranty and the case and everything. Divide that across 3 years, a little over $100 a year. Then you sell it back at the end of the term and you get $150 back. So you're not, at a massive cost per year for each student when you look at it.
So these are for the students.
Students and teachers. So the teachers have the same device as the student, so that way they can see what the students are doing on their device, and that way they can mimic some of the applications and some of the materials that the students are doing, because it does look different on an iPad than what it does on a computer screen.
And remind me how many teachers we have again?
We have close to, I think it's like 280, 300 teachers.
So just says 300 teachers. So we have roughly 3,200 students, 300 teachers. We got 200 extra iPads.
Yes. So we always have extra iPads because of the influx of students coming in and moving out. Also, the devices that do get broke, we usually send those back in batches of 10, but sometimes they can be out for, a week or so. And depending upon how many devices are coming in and out, it's a hard number to really pinpoint. We have the same amount of devices currently, and sometimes we do run relatively thin on devices.
Okay, got you.
And we will keep some of these older devices to then move down to some of the paraprofessionals for all their charting that they do on students. So we'll be able to sell their devices currently back and make some money on those, but they're not going to be quite as high as the $150. But we're trying to trickle down some of the, the newer devices to give down to some of the older devices.
Very good. Any other questions?
No, I did a little calculation. So if he can sell the majority of them at 150, it knocks off about 20% off of our payments. So it's about
It's a considerable.
about $100,000 a year off the payment just by selling them.
Okay. Any other questions?
So this might be a question for Mrs. Weaver. When tracking that in the budget, do you put the buyback as a revenue line item?
Yes, we do in the year that it's going to be sold, in the year they're going to be sold, we do, yes. So we do have in the 24-25 budget, the sale of these old assets as well as the GASB entry for the new assets.
Okay.
And then also, obviously, the debt payment too, because it's like a bond payment.
And you said how much is the buyback going to be about? I'm sorry.
Like I said, I don't want to commit to a definitive number, but I mean, like I said, if we use, I think I said use $125 for 3,500 devices, it's about $437,000 that we would get a check back to pay off our last year of our current lease, and then anything extra would go back into the the fund for future.
So, Mrs. Weaver, in the January presentation, you have 146,000 number in there?
No, I have, in order for the entry, I have 1.7 million in there for the entry, the GASB entry. Is that what you're talking about? Which part of are you talking about?
It says, hold on, let me find it quick. I'm sorry. Changes to expenditure budget, changes to revenue budget. I might have to come back.
increase in the sale of fixed assets to reflect the sale of iPad and MacBooks, 146,000 additional revenue.
Yes, see what, they were supposed to be sold, they were in the budget for 23, 24, but were not sold. So that's why the increase is there, because there's gonna be some additional things that will be sold as well.
Okay. So the 146 is,
It's just an increase over last year because these actually were in the budget for last year, but we're not selling them, so that's for some other additional items.
so should there be should that be increased then?
No, this is reflected,
Yeah.
so it's.
Okay,
Yes.
sorry.
It's okay, it's just
I just need a
increases.
minute to process, but I'll figure it out now.
Yeah, you're fine.
And if you want to email me, I can kind of show you how, I can give you like a
Okay,
little crosswalk.
Okay. I just wanted to make.
Yeah, she's very helpful because it's a lot to take in
Yeah,
when you're
I
trying to
know,
sell
it's
stuff and bring it back in. Yeah.
But as long as it's covered in there, I just wanted to make sure it
Yeah.
wasn't like an ad, like we had to add another 300,000 in.
No, I can send you a little crosswalk if you need.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think we were even a little bit lower, I think, for our buyback,
We're
value.
A little bit lower, yeah.
Because we weren't sure exactly what the dollar value was going to be, so we went pretty low when we said, hey, we're only going to get maybe $300,000 back for the devices, because I always hate to say we're going to get X amount of dollars and then come back in and say, hey, I need more money, and then then we'll get right back to square one.
Any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Boyd.
No problem.
Appreciate it. Next agenda items 5.18, the ACIA base bid of $29,000 and some change there. It's almost $30,000 for HVAC filters through the district. This is going to be purchased with ESSER funds. There's an attachment with the details. Any questions? Hearing none, we'll move on. Agenda item 5.19, purchase of tenant cleaning equipment and preventative maintenance agreement, also funded by ESSER's funds. Three attachments there detailing. Any questions at all? Hearing none, we'll move on. Agenda item 5.20, the 2024-2025 agreement with Assist Services, LLC. Any questions? Hearing none, move on. Agenda item 5.21, PSBA membership renewal. District is currently a member of PSBA, which is the Pennsylvania School Board Association. They provide district policy drafts, job advertisements through the Career Gateway, board member and administrator training session, and consultation, and a number of other services, including the magazine. Our dues annually are around $17,000 per year. Is there any discussion? Director Whitmer.
Yes, I'd like to ask a question in regards to the administrative regulations, and I was just curious if we've utilized what they recommend for those since we've been paying for that
We don't
service.
get their admin regulations, we write our own. On occasion, they'll give us a sample for a new policy, but we don't get them like we get policies.
So that part of this renewal could be eliminated then?
Has it checked on the form for an additional $905?
Oh, maybe I'm wrong. I thought we didn't get ARs.
We don't currently.
So we can eliminate that, yes.
Okay. So that would bring us down to $16,132.23 if we took that off. So any additional questions? So just for the record, for the next board meeting, that will be unchecked or deselected, however you want to put it. And we'll have a revised number in the membership dues. Who is it with the district that deals directly with membership fees? Is that, Mrs. Weaver, is that you?
I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Can you repeat the
Yeah, I'm
question?
sorry. I was probably talking over your discussion there. Do you deal directly with PSBA on our membership dues?
Amy does.
Hey, Mrs. Almond, okay. All right. So, so we have not been receiving these services, or have we been paying for them? We're not using them. Do you know for sure?
I don't know for sure. I'll check into it.
Okay, so you can just revise the quote then, but, okay.
May I ask some more questions in regards to what's included in this membership? Because from what I understand, the School Safety Institute is something that no board member has participated in, but it looks like it's included in the membership, even though it says it's a value of $1,500 per session. And I know recently they were doing, I think, an open house up there at the facility. So my overall question, Amy, Mrs. Allman, I'm sorry, would be whether or not they can offer us a membership that only pertains to, you know, some help with policies, if that's all we're really using them for. Thank you.
When I spoke to my rep about that event, or our rep, not my rep, our rep, she had stated that we are going to have a couple of representatives at the open house, but I didn't ask her for the names of who's attending, so I can ask her. The safety open house.
So they would be some of our admin, maybe?
I don't know. I guess I assumed Mr. Perkins would be going. But I just made that assumption in my mind, so I can ask her. So
I think I saw that advertisement for that, and I thought it was only for school personnel for that Safety Institute. Is it for board members also?
I don't know. I'll ask.
Okay. Mrs. Allman, could you just ask them if they could email us, I guess, some more details about the basic membership? I'm making the assumption, since there was only one place for a check on the all access package, that it just, you know, by default included all this, but there's probably some different levels of the membership. If we could see what they're offering, maybe we can make a more informed decision next week.
So I can answer those questions, actually.
Okay.
Our last dues renewal for the 23-24 school year did include the administrative regulations.
Oh, it did?
It did.
Okay.
Yes. So that total was $17,037.48. I have the invoice right here.
Okay.
And then our next invoice does not look the same as the one that's on the agenda. So I'll forward it to you and you can look at it.
Okay.
Because it doesn't look the same as what's attached.
Can you forward it to the entire board?
Yes.
Okay, that sounds good.
Director Connolly, if I could just maybe make a suggestion that we table this until we have future discussions about what all we are offered through the membership, what we're paying for exactly, what we can maybe look at as far as what we're not utilizing, and see if they would work with us on a different membership.
Okay. So you're requesting like a consult with
I think
the SBA
I think we
rep?
need to be informed.
So this says it was invoice dated April 2nd, 2024. Did they already bill us for this?
Let me.
Since the number is exact to the penny, is what was quoted by Director Meese. I wonder if have we already paid this?
It's paid yearly, so a lot of times what vendors will do, knowing that our budget is approved by, like, our new year starts July 1st, they will bill us in advance just for preparation purposes.
Okay.
It's common practice.
Okay. So it's just invoice there, but there's no payment yet.
No,
Okay.
nothing for next year gets paid until next year.
Very good. Okay. All right. So Mrs. Allman's taken the LU to get us some additional information, and Director Meese is our PSBA rep. So I guess between the two of y'all, if y'all could help the rest of us understand where we are with it. Okay. All right. Any other questions, comments? Hearing none, let's move on to the next agenda item. 5.22, affiliation agreement with Westchester University for student teaching. The agreement is attached. So we've been asked for a number of these in the last, I think, well, maybe 2 in the last month, but we've seen other ones.
So is this for social workers? It says in the area of social work, but the title was student teachers. Is it for both or?
I only know it to be for teachers.
Okay, it says whereas staff necessary to provide an educational experience to the university students in the area of social work. So that's why I wasn't sure.
We might have the wrong agreement. This is supposed to be for student teachers.
Let me look here. That's a good point. Well put, Director Miller.
We can get it changed.
Okay. So we'll have this particular agenda item updated with the proper agreement, or either if it is indeed the right agreement, then I guess we'd change the agenda item. Okay. All right. Next agenda item, and I'll go through these quickly because they're all personnel related for the next 5 agenda items. 5.23, the appointment of Jamie Snyder to Director of Exceptional Children. This is replacing Dr. Geyer, correct?
Correct.
So we'll be asked to approve that new hire. Any questions? Hearing none, we'll move on to the next one. Agenda item 5.24, appointments. We have a long list of appointments with the effective dates, salary levels, what have you. And for the comment on the last column for who they are replacing, if applicable. Any questions? Next, agenda item 5.25, resignations and terminations. I only had one here. It lists Mr. Hoover 5 or 6 different times. He just does a lot of stuff. Is that what we saw there? He's got a lot of ancillary duties?
Correct.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? Next, 5.26, transfers. Any questions, comments? Hearing none, move on. Agenda item 5.27. This is a letter from Dr. Cartwright announcing her retirement, effective August the 9th. Any comments, questions? Hearing none, we'll move on to agenda item 5.28, extended school year. Extended school year appointments, July 2024. We have a personal care assistant. Agenda item 5.29, correction to the April 2024 board agenda, resignations and appointments. I'll just read this for clarity for the record. Rescinding of the resignation of Elia Liz Santiago from the April 2024 board agenda in lieu of a transfer to another position. Adjustment to appointment of, so I have to get the glasses out. Caitlin Clytes from advisor class of 2027 to advisor class of 2026. Any comments, questions, concerns? All right, the next agenda item is additions to the approved driver listing. We have 3 names on here for drivers with the dates. Any questions? Hearing none, we'll move on to agenda item 5.31, obsolete listing. Technology department is a long list here in an Excel file of approximately 36 items.
I was just wondering if we could get an additional column for the year that it was purchased. Would that make sense to anybody else to?
It does. I think that's a good suggestion. Is that something that we can do, Mr. Boyd? Is he still here? He said yes.
Yes, yes.
Okay, I heard him. around the
Thank
corner.
you.
All right. Excellent.
Good suggestion.
Any other questions, comments? All right, the next agenda item 5.32, the obsolete listing for the Live Elementary Library. There's a long list here, multiple pages. We are looking at into the 9th page. A lot of these are audio cassettes. I'm assuming this is the old cassette that no one uses anymore. I'm surprised we still have them.
That's correct.
Okay, all right. Any questions? That's like cleaning out. There's probably collectors looking for those things nowadays. Yeah.
It wouldn't pertain to these items if they're cassettes, but if we withdraw books from the library, are they ever offered up to students to take, or are they just disposed of?
That I can't answer.
Yeah, I was hoping Dr. Hauk would know.
Ooh,
Watch out.
That's gonna be one.
no.
Oh.
I am not aware of us offering it to students. I am aware that we have donated them to the library, the Dover Library, and there is also a gentleman who will sometimes purchase old textbooks for us. I'm not exactly sure what he does with them, but we do offer to the library first, and then we'll give him a call for any textbooks to see if he's interested in purchasing them.
Okay, that's good to hear. Thank you.
So you engage in the direct sales to the end customer, or are they put on an auction site?
I can check for you. I'm not sure what he does with them.
So for other obsolete listings, those, like, especially for larger items, they go on auction sites, I'm assuming, right?
That is correct.
Is it? Okay.
It's municipal, yes.
Yeah, I thought so. Okay. Didn't want to give them any free advertisement. Thank you. All right. Thank you, Dr. Howell. Any other questions? All right. The next agenda items are the bills paid, agenda item 5.33. Check registers here with multiple pages. Any questions, comments?
Yep, I'd sent several items to Mrs. Weaver. She did reply. There was a couple items, equipment purchases. I was asking if they were grant purchases or E-rate purchases, which they were not, but they were budgeted already, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. Nothing out of the ordinary that she hasn't explained to me before.
Okay. Excellent. Any questions from the board? All right, the next item is agenda item 5.34, the treasurer's report for April 2024. And I'll recognize the treasurer, Director McKinney.
Yeah, there was nothing out of the ordinary. She's, over the last few months, explained to me the different programs and how they work, so I had no questions for her.
All right. Any questions from the board? All right. The next two agenda items, actually 3 agenda items, will be for board minutes. And they are not attached yet, but will be attached. Actually, they are there. Okay, so the view minutes tabs are there. Are there any concerns with the minutes? This is for 1 special board meeting and 2 meetings of the board, one the board planning meeting and one the actual board meeting on April the 16th. If you have any notes, I encourage you to take a close look at those, and that way there will be no surprises going into the actual board meeting. Next agenda item is section number 6, agenda item 6.01, policies first reading. First one is on sex-based distinctions in athletics. Policy number 123.3. And the second one is policy number 216.2, student records, name, sex, and gender identity. Is there any questions and comments from the board? Hearing none. All right. Go to the second public comment period, section number 7, agenda item 7.01. I'll restate this again. The board uses the public comment period as an opportunity to listen, but not to debate issues or engage in a question and answer session with the speaker. Public comment must be germane to the school district business. Board values civil, respectful statements and clear and concise communications that help to inform its deliberations. Each speaker will have 2 minutes. Anyone seeking to make public comment?
James Yinger, as a 35-year district taxpayer, I'm looking at the printout that was on the website for the 2024-25 budget. But one thing that caught my attention is the 5-year projections. And they show a proposed final budget by year going back to 21 all the way up to 29. What caught my eye is you go across the bottom and it says a forecasted deficit over the next 5 years of $18 million. If that doesn't wake you up, something should. One item, which is supplies, shows from 21 to 22 and 22 to 23, they were almost flat. They actually went down for 23 to 24, but then when I look at the proposed for 24-25, it goes up $591,000. So I look at the bills paid, and if anybody really kind of digs into this, there's a lot of items on here that just list supplies. There's no explanation of what the supplies actually are. And accountability on some of these, it's just mind-boggling, especially when you look at, as I talked about the last meeting, running down to Spangler's, you know, paid $295 for supplies. Again, it's just all generic. The Lowe's supplies were $1,791. So all I did was I just added this up. And again, it's multiple trips with no accountability. Who's watching the store? Really, what it comes down to, because to me, this all adds up to pennies, nickels, dimes, quarters, and dollars that we can save.
Thank you, Mr. Yinger.
Hi, my name is Gina Myers, and I've been a longtime resident of Dover Township, and I just want to say I support the new board, and I welcome your input on the different issues, and I just encourage people to be respectful and give the new board a chance, because they're trying their best to do their best for the school district, and, you know, just give them a chance. And, you know, it's not helpful to just, you know, attack them and without, I mean, I just don't want to get into that at all, but just give them a chance. And, you know, it's not helpful to just throw out, oh, you know, let's soothe the school district. That's not helpful either. Just be respectful, and I just would appreciate that very much. And in case you're wondering about the Dolly construction, I get the Savvy Citizen, and they gave an update this afternoon that the Dolly construction is planning on closing Carlisle Road starting next week on May 20th, which is Monday, to install the new sanitary sewer mains and laterals. And this work will include area between George Street and Jim and Nina's restaurant. During the daytime closure, traffic will be detoured according to a map, and traffic will only be detoured during Dolly's daytime working hours. Local traffic will continue to be allowed to homes and businesses. You may just need to have, you know, some patience to allow the contractor to get you through. If you have any more questions, talk to or contact the Dover Township. So, okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Myers.
Kara Hetrick, I would like to know what other PACs you have met with. Just curious about that. I'd also like to know more about the executive sessions you mentioned. What dates were they held on? Who was in attendance? How long did they last? What specific issues were discussed? Were the issues discussed all only executive session material, or did you discuss additional issues? It is not sufficient to only state legal matters. As per the Sunshine Act, executive sessions are not to be used for deliberation among board members. Since there was no deliberation tonight about these policies, I have to assume there was deliberation that was handled during those executive sessions. I would like to state on record that I believe a violation of the Sunshine Act has occurred. If you would like to provide the answers to any of my questions, feel free to respond back to the email I sent you today with the Education Law Center's presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Hetrick. Anyone else? Okay, hearing none, the public comment period is closed. And this brings us to section comments and observations from board members, section agenda item 8.01. Forget which side I started on last time. Did I start with you last time? No. Oh, we'll start with you this time then.
I have no
Director
comment.
Wolverton. Thank you.
I have no comment.
No comment.
Come back to me. I'm looking something up.
Okay, I'll come back to you.
Yeah, I've been attending the girls lacrosse games at the high school. And one thing I've noticed, and actually fans from other teams have noticed, before the game starts, they play the national anthem. And if the baseball team, high school baseball team, is practicing or in a game, when that national anthem starts, they stop, remove their caps, and face the flag. For me, that speaks volumes about those young people on that team. We have college teams that go in the gym, go in the locker room when the national anthem's played. We have high school kids who really aren't affected because they're on another field, but they stop the game, remove their hats, and face the flag. And so I just wanted to mention that. I had fans from other teams mention that. Wow, they stopped the game. So congrats to them.
Thank you for noticing that, Director Kindig.
Come back to you now.
Yep,
Okay.
come back to me. What I was looking up, I wanted to see the time of the Spring Sports Awards night. It's tomorrow night in the gym at the high school, 6 to 8 o'clock. So hopefully all the community comes out and supports our spring sports athletes. So
Excellent.
recognize theirs.
All right, Director Miller.
I just want to say thank you, Dr. Cartwright. You are going to love retirement.
Sure I will.
Dr. Hogan.
Yeah, I would like to say the same thing, Dr. Cartwright. You have a lot of tenacity and you worked hard. So congratulations on a outstanding career. Also, I would like to say that in terms of the receptionist, I'd like us to consider that between now and then, what it would take to keep the part-time receptionist. And I hope the parent who spoke about the busing gets those problems solved, because that is a concern. I don't know how to handle that, but just my 2 cents.
Thank you, Director Hogan. Dr. Cartwright? Nothing. I attended as I said, the FFA awards ceremony, and very impressed with them. Also, the spring concert. I spent time in the breezeway there because I had my phone out taking video of it. I mean, you would have thought you were in a major concert hall, especially the medley of the John Williams songs. You know, all of us know those songs because they're in the movies and that type of thing. And it sounded very impressive. Didn't sound like a high school band. It sounded like a group of professionals up there. So I was very impressed with them. And also the outpouring of affection for Mr. Bradshaw was touching. The comments that people made in the video, I thought that was a very nice send-off for him. And a lot of affection there with a long career. I know that the district's going to miss him. We've heard from students throughout the year how much of a difference that he's made in their lives. And as we look forward to a new band director, hope they'll be able to fill in those big shoes to fill. All right, that is all I have for tonight. Future meeting announcements, we have a board meeting. Our business meeting is next Tuesday night on May the 21st. All the business we've taken up tonight with the adjustments to the agenda that we talked about and asked for tonight will be on there. And as always, public comment. I appreciate the civil comments and respectful comments tonight. We all don't agree, but I appreciate the manner in which they were presented. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
All right, it has been moved. Is there a second?
I second.
Director Hogan seconds the motion. Director McKinney made the motion. Is there any opposition?